Coffee break Python 50 workouts to kickstart your rapid code understanding. So first we have to go to python.org and then we have to go under downloads. And I'm going to download it for OS X. I'm going to choose the 64-bit Intel installer. So why I'm installing this Python version is because I need the IDE, which is by default offered in Python. So let me install this. Continue, 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 agree with the license, and then install. So I'm going to type my password. Let's wait till this finishes and then we are going to experiment. So I'm going to open the... So Python 3.9 is installed. I'm going to open the idle. So this idle is really useful as I can type code in here. For example, name equals to Oltiano, which is my name, and the code executes interactively. So I can print name now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the book and I'm going to practice the review of the Python language in here, which is very useful for solving the puzzles of this book. So first we have to get aware of keywords. For example, the false keyword, which is a special keyword in Python, is equal to 1 greater than 2. Since the expression on the right is false, because 1 is not greater than 2, our keyword in here, which is a boolean data type that I'm going to explain later, evaluates with this expression. So this returns true because 1 is not greater than 2. Then we have the true boolean data type, which is a special keyword in Python. Double equals means to check, to verify the expression. 2 greater than 1. Yes, that's true. If we do, for example, true equals to 2 equals to... Yes, that prints true because 2 is equal to 2. Let's do another expression. Let's say false is equal to 1 greater than 0, true. 1 is greater than 0, so this evaluates to true. And false is not equal to true, so it returns false. We have the logical operators, such as and, or, not, and I believe they have a hierarchy. which one is evaluated by Python first. So let's see. Let's take the example from the book. X, y equals to true, false. In this case, we are assigning two variables, x and y. X gets the value of true and y gets the value of false. If we do x, it returns true. If we do y, it returns false. X or y. So this evaluates to true or false. In such condition, what matters is that just one of them, if one of them is true, then the expression evaluates to true. So x or y should return true. Yes, it returns true. X and y returns false because the AND operator needs all the members of the expression to evaluate to true. So this evaluates to false. If we do x and not y, this should evaluate to true because not y, not false returns true. Okay. For example, not x is false. Not true is like saying not true. Not true. False. Not false. So this gives the opposite value. Not. Remember the not gives the opposite value. Not 1, for example. False. Not 0. True. Okay. So I'm going to the break keyword. The break keyword ends the loop prematurely, which means that if I have, let me clear the shell. I'm going to clear it. It doesn't clear it, so if I have a while true and I do break in here, and in here I say print 2, this statement is never going to be hit. Okay, while true break, and then print 2. Okay, so while true break print 2. Print. Again, indentation error. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Break. 1, 2, 3, 4. Print 2. So as you can see, the print statement didn't execute because the break keyword in here, it just breaks the while loop. We are going to see it in practical examples while solving these puzzles, but for now just remember that the break keyword breaks the loop prematurely. Continue. It finishes the current loop iteration. Let's do an example with continue. So while true, one, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4. While true, continue. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Print by. So this doesn't break the loop, but what it tells is to continue to the next iteration. So when the interpreter hits the keyword continue, it doesn't execute the block that comes after it, but just continues to the next iteration, and so on and so on. So it doesn't break the loop, but just continues to the next iteration. I'm going to break it myself. The class keyword, it defines a class. Python is an object-oriented programming language, and we need classes to build the structure of the objects. Classes tells the interpreter how the object behaves. For example, I can have a class called dog, and a class should have a constructor which gets executed once we initialize the object, and self goes here. This is by default, and the dog should have a name and a color and age, and I'm going to initialize these parameters, so I can say self.name equals to name. Self stands for the object, so if I create many objects, each one of them is going to have different attributes. Self.color equals to color, self.age equals to age, and I can put a state for the dog. For example, what is the dog doing? Self.state equals to barking. Dog is currently barking. Or I can say sleeping. And what does the... Okay, let me write it again. Or better is to open a script for building classes, but this default idle doesn't support history. I cannot find what I typed. So I'm going to write it again. Define init self name color. Self.name equals to name, self.color equals to color, and I can have a state, self.state equals to sleeping. I'm going to write another function called bark, which takes self and the frequency of how many barks. I'm going to say for x in range frequency. So what this for does, it just loops over this data in here, which is the frequency, and 1, 2, 3, 4. For every iteration it's going to bark, so I'm going to say print let's say the dog does oof. Okay, and I'm going to write another function. Functions inside classes are called methods. This is how you define a function with a def keyword. So, for example, another method could be park command self command in here. If command is equal to bark, I'm going to execute okay, so now command should be different. Bark is separate, so I'm going to do if command is equal to wake up, one, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to change the state to woke up. And if command is equal. So this is just to learn. It's not. I'm not building a real practical object in here just for the purpose of learning. Else if command is equal to run, I'm going to change. Okay. Inconsistent use of tabs and spaces. Okay, I'm going to open a new file, but better to open a script to build the class. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in the script and I'm going to indent the code 1, 2, 3, 4. I use 4 spaces 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again I leave a space in here 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Python is very readable because it supports indentation 1, 2, 3, 4. You can easily tell what blocks are part of the program and how the program is structured. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So else if the command is equal to run, I'm going to change the state to running. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some dogs. For example, this is a variable and I'm going to initialize class and it takes a name equals to and a color, for example I can say black, and I'm going to create another dog, for example Spike or whatever. So name equals to Spike and color equals to red. And what I can do now is that I can play with these objects. I can put them to work and I can animate dogs For example, I can make the first dog to bark, or I can give him a command. But for now, I'm going to print the data for each dog. For example, print. Let's make different variables. First dog, second dog. Okay. Print first dog dot. This is how you access the attributes of the object with a dot. First dog dot name. Print first dog dot color or color or whatever. Print second dog dot name and print second dog dot color. Second dog. Okay, I'm going to save it and I'm going to save it as learning. Okay, I'm going to save it with desktop. Save. And I'm going to run it. So just click on the file and you hit run and you hit run the module. Okay, so it says again inconsistent use of tabs and spaces in indentation. So basically I shouldn't mix tabs and spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just use spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the same for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some repetitive stuff, but it's necessary. Okay, let me run it. Positional argument follows. Okay, this is another error which I'm not going to explain it right now. So color equals to let's save it and let's run it. Okay, so we got the data, the name of the first dog, the color of the first dog, the name of the second dog, and the color of the second dog. Let's do some other stuff. For example, let's make the first dog bark. This is how you define a comment in Python with a hash. So we are going to do first dog dot bark. That's how you access the method, which is an attribute of the dog object. and if this works correctly, we are going to get printed oof, but how many times? We are going to define the frequency in here, because the method bark takes let's say a parameter or an argument called frequency, which I'm going to say it's equal to 5 or 6 or whatever. I'm going to say 5. I'm going to save it and run again. And as we executed the code, we got 5 oof, 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 oof 5 times, because I put the frequency to equal to 5. And we can do the same thing for the second dog. Okay, let's move to the def keyword, which should be very easy to grasp since we use it while working with classes. So basically def defines a function, and you can name the function whatever, just don't put a keyword which is part of Python. For example, def display name, and functions take arguments or parameters, whatever you like to call them. For example, name, and I'm going to do print hello dear, and the name here. This is string formatting, but just I guess we can do this without string formatting, but anyway. And you call the function by its name and normal brackets, and name in here should be a string. Okay, hello dear Otian. So the function got executed. We have the conditionals. The conditionals just check conditions. If something is true or false, for example, if x equals, let's define x equals to 5. If x equals to 5, print what to print in here? Print x equals to 5. So x equals to 5, because this got printed, because this condition here evaluates to true. It's like saying if true, print this. And since true is always true, it got printed. Like in real life, the truth is always truth. So what this conditional statement does, it just checks if this is true or not. If it's true, the code under the conditional statement gets executed. We have the else if statement. The else if statement is very useful when you want to check how to say it, when you want to check other conditions. For example, if x equals to 5, print x equals 5. Else if x is less than 5, okay, let's try again. If x equals to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, print x equals 5. One, two, three, four. Else if x less than 5, I don't know why it gives an indentation problem. If x equals to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, print x equals 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Else if x less than 5, okay, it does it again. I don't get it. Let's put it inside the file. Okay. Conditionals. I'm going to comment all the code that I wrote so it doesn't get executed. So anything that is a comment doesn't get interpreted by the Python interpreter as code. And triple quotes are used to make comments which have multiple lines, like in our case, or in my case. So if I'm going to declare x equals to 5, if x equals to 5, print, okay, let me, 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't want to use tabs, x equals 5, else if x is less than 5, print 1, 2, 3, 4, print x is a very small number, else print x is a very big number, or just a big number. So Python goes to the first condition. If x equals to 5, it just executes this block of code. If not, then it goes to the next conditional statement, which is else if. Else if x equals less than 5, this gets executed. If none of the above conditional statements evaluates to true, then the else means don't check for any condition, just do this. So this always gets executed if all the conditional statements which are above else are false. So let's see. I'm going to save it. File save, run. Okay. X equals to 5. So since our value of x equals to 5, this gets evaluated to true, this gets executed, all the rest gets ignored. Let's say x equals to 1, let's save it. I'm going to run it. X is a very small number because this one uh, evaluates to true. This gets executed. Let's say x equals to 10, and I'm going to run it. X is a big number, so none of these evaluates to true, so else gets executed. The code block in here gets executed. Let's see some other keywords. For loop declaration just loops over a sequence, which means it iterates over elements. For example, let's say we have a string, which in Python is a sequence. Name equals to Oltiano, which is my name, and I'm going to say for x in name, 1, 2, 3, print x. So what it does, it just loops over the elements of the sequence. It iterates through the elements. And for x in name, print x. For example, it goes to the first letter, which is O. X in this case is O, and it just prints it. Prints O, and so on until it hits the end of the sequence. It's very easy to grasp the for loop in Python. The while loop, it's similar but not the same. For example, we can say while x, we have declared x, right? X, no, x in our case is O. Let's say x equals to 5, while x less than, we can say less than, or while x greater than 1, x equals to x minus 1, we'll say print x. So what this does is, in the first iteration, x is 5. So 5 is greater than 1. So this while loop gets executed and goes to the next line in the block. For x is now equals to 5 minus 1 to 4, and print x, it gets printed, and so on and so on. When x, the value of original x, becomes 1, the while loop doesn't get executed anymore because 1 is not greater than 1, so that's why we have only these values. But if we do, for example, while x, okay, x equals to 5 again, while x greater than 0, x is equal to x minus 1, print x. Okay, so now we have 4, 3, 2, 1 zeros. We can see that 0 got printed. Why? Because when x becomes 1, the while loop gets executed again, since 1 is greater than 0, and x equals to 1 minus 1, 0, so 0 gets printed. As for none, I cannot say, this guide said it's an empty value constant, but we have to we have to see it in real projects or in the puzzles to understand the meaning of noun. Noun is an object, and I cannot explain it with words, so I'm going to leave it for now. Lambda is an anonymous function. It creates functions. It's a way to express the body of a function. As for return, return is used inside functions. Functions should return something. For example, to define a function, we do def and say sum a and b, and you do sum equal. Okay, let me indent the code. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you say sum is equal to a. Okay, my sum here, because this is a Python keyword, I think. My sum, or I don't know, is equal to a plus b, and I'm going to return it. Okay, return my sum. So whenever we do my sum, for example, 3 and 2, 5 get returned. This is how the return keyword works. Now we are going to cover some basic data types. There are many data types in Python. The basic ones are the boolean data types, which I think we covered. We did some examples. So basically, boolean data types tell a condition, a state, for example. If lights are on, we evaluate it to true. If lights are off, we evaluate it to false. So off and on, like a switch. For example, x equals to 1. And then we check x equals double equals are meant to check an expression equals to 1. Is x equal to 1? We test it now. And it should return true. Okay. Is x equal to 0? It should return false. No, it's not equal to 0, that's why it returns false. And we need the boolean data type to check conditions inside the program. For example, if the market is closed, don't go to buy stuff because you are going to waste time. Or if the balance of the account is 0, don't make a payment. We have integers, which are numbers, positive and negative. We have floats, which are numbers with floating point precision. Let's do some examples. Example, an integer is a equals to 5 and a equals to minus 5. These are both integers. A floating point data type is when you do, for example, b equals to 5.0. This is not an integer data type, but a float data type in Python. And if you check the type, it says float in here. Okay. We have the string data type in Python, which is mainly used to write strings in programs, to write text. For example, name or last name or first name. First name is equal to Oltiano, and if you check the type with the built-in function type, it should return str. As you can see, it's stir, it's of type string. And we declare strings with single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes. For example, name is equal to Oltiano in single quotes. Name is equal to Oltiano in double quotes now. And we can use triple quotes. As you open it, that's how you close it. Triple quotes to open it, triple quotes to close it. Single quote to open, single quote to close. Double quote to open, double quote to close. Strings have many built-in functions or methods which are specific for strings, as the same happens with other data types in Python. Each data type has its own specific methods that belong to them and only to them. For example, we can perform string concatenation to join two strings together. For example, let's say name is equal to Fortiano, last name is equal to Beck. And if I want to join them together, I can do first name, last name. I'm declaring a very long variable is equal to name plus, so the same operator as we can use for numbers, we can use for strings in here, or floats. The plus is not just used for arithmetic operation, it's also used for string concatenation. Plus last name and what? Okay. Last name is not defined because my variable doesn't have an underscore. So let me copy this. Okay. And if I do first name, last name to find the value, as you can see, the strings are joined together. Yeah, really cool. We have complex data types, which are lists. Lists are used to contain elements which can belong to other data types. I mean, these elements that are part of the list can be of different data types. A list in Python is declared with a square brackets, like this. And if you do type L, it says list. We can say L is equal to 1, 2, 3.0 in here. Okay, L is equal to 1, 2, and 3.0. As you can see, I have two integers and a floating point, which means that I can put elements that are of different data type from each other. And I can access elements in the list. For example, to access the first element, I do L, square brackets, and the index of the first element, which is 0. In Python, indexing starts from 0. So the first element has an index of 0, the second element has an index of 1, and so on. Okay, so let me access, and it says 1. So lists have their own specific methods, which we are going to see in the next video. For now, it's enough for the lists. Other containers are dictionaries. Dictionaries are very useful when you have to deal with key values that have relationship with each other. For example, if you want to store a list of students, you can use a dictionary. Since each student has age, has a name, has a last name, has credit, etc., etc. So we can say, for example, students equals to. That's how you declare a dictionary, with this kind of brackets. You can say name, for example, let's make a single student. Name is equal to Oltiano, last name is equal to Beck, age, I'm going to make my age an integer, 13 for example, and my profession, coder, okay, coder here. As you can see, we have pairs in here. This is the key, this is the value. Another pair, key, value. Another pair, key. Keys should always be strings. Not always. It's my mistake. But in this case it should be a string because we haven't declared age as a variable. So we should put it in single quotes. Okay, so student is declared. And how I access the values is through the key. For example, student square brackets and the name of the key, in this case is name, and it gives me the value. If I want to access the last name, I do the same, last name. If I want to access the age, I do the same. If I want to access profession, I do the same. So key value, key value. There are many built-in methods for dictionaries. For example, we can access the pairs of the dictionary entirely. We can do student.items. Items is a built-in method for a dictionary. And as you can see, it gives me the pairs, each pair. I can access the values only. This gives me only the values. I can also access only the keys. Yes. And we can also unpack a dictionary. So to unpack a dictionary, we have to use a for loop. So we can do something like for key value, print key value. Okay, let's try to unpack the dictionary. For key, kv in student.items 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what this does, it just iterates through the keys and values of the dictionary. 1, 2, and I'm going to do print. Okay, I'm going to put a string in here. And v in here. As you can see, it got I got some, let's say, nice format, and I have the key and the string that I put and the value, key value. So this is how I unpack the dictionary. As for in, it's a membership operator. It just checks if something is in something, or if an element is in a container, for example. For example, t is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say 1 in t, it returns true, because the in keyword checks if 1 is in the sequence, which in this case is a list, and it returns true. We also have sets. I'm not very familiar with sets. They are declared as the same as lists, but with brackets like dictionaries. So my set, for example, equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I do type my set, it says set. I guess sets are faster than lists, that's what they say, but I have not experience with them. As for classes, yes, we did the example with a dog. Functions, we did some functions. So this is the review of Python basics for today. In the next video I'm going to do a warm-up and I'm going to solve the puzzles by myself, and anyone who is interested can learn from my experience. So thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to my channel. Bye.